All right, traders, good morning, afternoon, evening. Connor, thank you for joining us again as well.
Thank you, Scotty.
And episode 79, traders. And we have an interesting format. It's Friday morning for us here, where we're recording. So we've got silver up. So, Connor, did you get into this trade here? This is a sell trade
Yes.
on, was it Tuesday or when was this? Monday?
Yeah, I think it was the Monday, Scott. Yeah.
Monday, you're right. Sorry, yeah, correct. Yeah. All right. So entry candle was it? It was sort of holding sideways for a little bit. Then it had that big.
Yeah, look, it had all those wicks you can see right up the top of the support and resistance line before it
Oh, yep,
before it busted through. Once it busted through, that was my signal to take it.
yep.
It's gone up, and then it's formed a formed a bearish big shadow,
Yep.
and then it's sort of gone sideways again. Now it's really gone down. So
Nice.
I'm just
Yeah.
holding on to that. I mean, silver's a small market, a lot smaller than gold. It's a volatile market, but we were talking before, it doesn't seem to be as volatile as some of the other crazy pairs going on at the moment, such as something like the Great British Pound. So I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
actually that uncomfortable being in this trade.
Mm. Oh, exactly. It's pretty. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's some okay sized candles, but there's nothing too terrible. And so your stop loss has moved now to that green line. So that's a
Yes.
break even. Yeah, nice. So that's where the stop is, guys. So risk off, and this is looking, yeah, pretty nice actually. To be honest, nice little trade there, guys. So if people do trade silver and gold, we will, take positions. But gold, if you're asking yourself, it's holding that 1200 sort of range. So you really want to see it break down nicely, like Connor had taken there on that silver trade before you get into something. That's all. So now, off air, we were talking. We'll go to Tesla, guys. I've just got the euro up here quickly as a quick mention. And I might go to the New Zealand Swissy as well for all the trend traders out there. I forgot about that because that's quite a good one. But you're still in this for 60 odd days, it's been now?
Yeah, it's just sort of hitting a range. I'm not, I've put in my risk, so I'll risk 2% of my account on this, and that's what I'm willing to lose.
Yep.
So I'm not doing anything silly. I'm just going to hold tight. It's in a range. We'll see what goes on.
Exactly, guys. So if you are in this situation, that's about all we have to really say on that. So there's no, unless you're a lower time frame guy or something, but that's not for us. Now, New Zealand Swissy. I'll start from the weekly. Kind of pointed this out. We'll go down to the daily. I mean, on the weekly, it's not really up against any significant support, so it could really collapse here. Daily, um, actually, the previous candle, it's sort of like a big shadow nearly. It didn't completely engulf the previous candle, but it's pretty interesting right now. So on the 4 hour, definitely worth watching, guys. So if you do see updates on the Twitter feed about New Zealand Swiss, that's the reason why, because that's how the chart's looking. So again, we're not too sure on the fundamentals, so why this is happening. It just sort of has popped up, and that's that really. So anything else in particular, Connor? You pointed out the New Zealand Swissy.
Yeah, look, like I said, it's a lot of the markets being really volatile and going crazy. Speaking of crazy and volatile, we've got Elon Musk.
Oh, do we ever? Goodness me, that was a great segue, wasn't it? Let me bring this across. All right, so guys, um, if you are interested, there's you don't have to pay for anything with finding out research on US stocks if you're sort of not familiar with it. Essentially, I just searched for Tesla share price, and there's a lot of stuff that came up. So the most recent one that was tweeted about earlier, it would have been about 2 in the morning here, but it's obviously 12 hours behind in New York, so in the afternoon. There's a group of short sellers that are suing Tesla itself and the CEO over his take private tweets. So if anyone's familiar with Elon Musk, he's obviously the CEO of Tesla, and he made some interesting privatization tweets. It might have been earlier in the month. I don't think it was last week, but he talked about how he had secured funding and how he'd got, $420 per share as well for the funding, and that it was guaranteed. And then that obviously shot the price up 11% in the day. So what they're suggesting is that he manipulated things, didn't really follow proper protocol because he just tweeted about this. It wasn't like a planned anything, and it turned out that actually the financing wasn't guaranteed either. So there wasn't anyone there to really come to the party with, because I think that would value the company at $83 billion. It worked out, so that meant it was worth more than Ford, General Motors, all those guys. So it was pretty crazy sort of comment to make, and unsubstantiated it ended up. So yeah, definitely want to be careful about that if you tweet stuff ridiculous. And it looks like the SEC are after him as well. There's been downgrades on the stock too. I'll just bring up some interesting. I think it might have even been Goldman Sachs. Like the current price that Tesla trade at, it's about $210. They're saying it's worth about 170 as their downgrade. So that's quite interesting. Oh, goodness me. So if you are interested, guys, in the technology stocks in the US, we've discussed about this previously about how, Tesla are operating, everything like that. And they've got 5,000 production, per week goals, and they haven't hit those either. So you want to be a little bit careful. Probably stay away from Tesla, it looks like, because they've got a lot of headaches. And there's more competition coming in as well. So, I mean, what's your take on this kind? I mean, obviously the technicals, it's not too great either. I'll get the chart up as well here from year to date. Oh goodness, look at this. That is it. It hasn't hit its all-time low though. April 2018 was the low. So it's I think the 52-week. No, I misquoted. It wasn't 210, 244. So they got downgraded to 170. I think it was by Goldman Sachs. So that's pretty significant downgrade there as well. I'll go 1 year. Yeah, wow, look at that. It's very choppy, the chart, I will say. It's we'll go 5 years now. It's just a line. So, I mean, it hasn't completely collapsed quite yet, but it's just sort of hanging around in a bit of a range right now. So I would definitely be a little bit cautious if you just sort of, if you've got money and you're just piling it in somewhere, probably not Tesla right now. There's other options, it looks like, Netflix, and although Facebook's taken a hit as well. I was looking at that. I think yesterday, Connor, there was it was like a meeting of the heads of, Twitter, Facebook. Google didn't turn up actually, where it was like a Senate hearing or something in the States where they were asking how they were going to prevent the midterm elections being manipulated by bots and things on Twitter and Facebook and fake news and everything like that, because they were talking regulations. And they were like, oh, we'll self-regulate. We don't need you to come in. And so that's a bit of an interesting point as well, like whether or not the government will come in and sort of, actually make some regulations that they've got to follow here. So,
yeah, they wouldn't want normal everyday people meddling in the elections. They only want themselves meddling in elections. So we can't have people on Facebook doing that, Scotty. That'd be reprehensible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess speaking of elections in Russia, they found the two suspects that poisoned those two. They were like Russian double agents that were living in the UK as well. So that's an interesting little turn of events too, because those two countries, their relationship isn't that great right now. So that was an interesting little thing I saw on the news. I'm like, oh wow, okay, it's not looking too great. But yeah, I guess it's Tesla, guys. Their production values haven't hit. I think in January they've got $2.3 billion in repayments they've got to make as well, and there's discussions that they may default on that as well. So it's interesting. Things like these companies can, on the surface they look very exciting and everything, but if you can't pay the bills, it could get pretty bad pretty quickly. So we'll see how it all folds for Tesla. You never know. Maybe in 5 years you'll be able to pick a cheap one up from like cash converters, like you were saying, Connor, the other night. That was
Yeah.
because they're cool cars. Like I like them, but yeah, there are. I think as emissions and things get worse, and the car makers have to follow tighter rules on how much emissions are emitted, you'll probably see more electric vehicles come out everywhere. So there was more competition and things like that, and Elon will be stretched even more on margins and things. So definitely worth watching. But that's about it. For Tesla, that's just a little idea and what's going on there, because that's probably the most interesting thing in the markets. If you trade stocks in the US, obviously Australian stocks are a little bit more dull, but we're more like stable. It's not too much. Although the Aussie dollar is a little bit interesting, But what's your take on the Aussie dollar, Connor? If you sort of, had to sort of do something with it, it's hard to. Oh wow, look at that.
I'd be bearish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd be bearish.
I agree. Yeah. So it is holding this support level, and that's the thing, guys. You sort of have to wait. A lot of trading is a lot of waiting. You can't just sort of jump in and expect to, the trade to be winning straight away if you're sort of not looking at the whole situation. So definitely another one to watch. Swiss yen I like too, and you're still in the euro. The silver's looking good, Connor. That might be about it. Anything to add in final?
No, you hit the nail on the head.
Well, guys, again, a little bit different sort of episode where the Tesla thing might have been worth mentioning. That's why we discussed it. But that's it from us. Thanks again for joining us as well, Connor.
Thank you, Scotty.
And see you guys. And stay safe. Happy trading.